I'm Scott Heselmeyer. I'm the county treasurer. Have been the county treasurer since 2017. And county government is unique in that we have an elected treasurer in most of the counties in the state of Texas. There are a handful that have changed their mind on that. My position exists in all levels of government. In your cities or your school districts, that would be a finance director or somebody of that nature that's a hired position in Williamson County or in most counties in the state of Texas. That is a countywide elected position. We're basically the banker for the county. We handle the money. We do. I give the Larry Gaddis joke all the time. We don't collect the money. We don't send out the tax bill. But when Larry sends out the tax bill and you pay your property taxes, that tax money, the county's portion of it, gets sent to my office. If you drive a little too fast and you end up in JP court and you have to pay a ticket, that money gets sent to my office. You go to the county clerk, get a copy of something, file a lawsuit, all those kind of things. All of that money finds its way to my office. And my staff is charged with getting that properly deposited and accounted for. And the most basic function that we do, which is also in a county of the size we are now, probably the most complicated function we do, is we balance the checkbook. And so, that is usually a couple of $100 million in transactions every month going in and out one direction or the other. And we make sure every month that is balanced to the penny. Some months that's easier than others. Somebody puts in a number backwards and puts 21 cents instead of 12, just like at home. We end up dealing with that for a while. So that's kind of the basic function of what we do on a day-to-day basis on that income side. On the other side, we pay all the bills. Now our auditor's office, who helps us with the balance in the checkbook part as well. They actually are in charge of the accounts payable department. So when the county owes somebody money and somebody sends them an invoice, they process that. They make sure that's all proper. They send it to our commissioners. Our commissioners approve it. And that same day we send out the money. My office actually physically sends out the checks or the wire transfers or the ACHs that gets the county's bills paid on a weekly basis. In a county of our size, we have a lot of things going on. We have our general fund, as everybody does, our day-to-day expenses, keeping the lights on, keeping our employees paid, fixing the potholes, doing all the kind of fun things. We also have a lot of special funds for things that we do on a grander scale. I don't know, Commissioner, if you talked anything about road bonds or bond elections or anything. You didn't get that far. And lost and found, we do a little bit of that. So we manage those big project funds. That's where the big dollars kind of come in. When we have a bond election in the county, and now in Williamson County, the size we are, when we have a bond election, we say, hey, we want to go out and build new roads, or we want to work on our parks, or those kind of things that come to the voters. Those are in hundreds of millions of dollars. And we don't necessarily sell all those bonds and get all that money at one time, but we do in large chunks at one time. That money comes to me. And so then my role, and the thing I do more personally myself, I have a great staff that brings in all the money, accounts for it, sends out all the checks, balances the checkbook, does all those kind of things. I act as the investment banker for the county. At any one time, we have now, this number has changed every year over the almost 9 years I've been here now. We have about $1.4 billion in the bank at the county. And so my job is to make sure that within the bounds of what the law allows, I'm not out there buying Bitcoin or doing anything like that. Within the bounds of what the law allows, I've got that money working for us and earning interest and earning return while we're waiting to spend it. Obviously, we're very limited in what we invest in. We can only invest in government securities, treasuries, your agencies, those kinds of things. We have some government pools, which is basically like a money market account backed up by those government securities we can be in. Some very limited things. But my role is basically cash flow planning, is knowing when that money comes in and when it's going to be spent, and making sure that it's earning some return for us in the meantime. That helps with both our general fund and with those project funds to make sure that we can get the maximum use out of those dollars. And so on a day-to-day basis, that's what I'm doing. We have financial advisors. The size of our portfolio, you have to. They help us keep track of everything. But we have things maturing weekly. We have new investments going out weekly. And so personally, I'm very hands-on in that. And then also, the other thing I do personally is kind of the troubleshooting when we have any issues, when the checkbook doesn't balance, or we have an issue with a payment, and we don't know how to get it properly recorded or those kind of things. So that's kind of the scope of what we do, what Commissioner Cook mentioned on the way out. We also handle unclaimed property for the county. State laws require different things, and so if you have, the most often thing that happens is, for example, bail bonds. Somebody comes in, they get arrested, they pay a bail bond, their case gets dismissed. They maybe don't necessarily go back and get that, if it was a small one, a couple $100 that they put up. After a certain number of years, that becomes unclaimed property. That gets sent to us, and we have to send that to the comptroller. So we process those kind of things. Interesting thing on the unclaimed property thing, we mentioned how we process or we send out the county's bills, their invoices. A little quirk in state law is if you do work for us, your construction company does work for us, and you send us a $1,000 bill and we send you a check and you don't cash it, that is not unclaimed property. After a certain amount of time, we void that check, and you still have the ability to come and get us to reissue the check. But under state law, after 366 days, if you haven't cashed that check, you have to go, you're still entitled to the money, but you have to go back through the process of submitting the accounts payable, go to the commissioner's court, get it approved. It never actually goes to the state. Yes, ma'am?
That's true.
Yes.
My uncle has $7,000 sitting out there right now. We don't even know who wrote the check, so we're trying to figure out how to even get the money.
Yeah, and when that stuff goes to the comptroller, it gets complicated. The other part of what I do, I'm still actually a practicing attorney, mainly in real estate and the occasional probate matter. And I've got one of those that I've dealt with recently where someone who had passed away has, it's actually about that amount, $7,000, $8,000 the comptroller says they have. The executor of the estate doesn't have any idea where that came from. And so getting through that paperwork sometime with the comptroller can be a little bit of a challenge depending on the deal. So, unfortunately, it's an interesting little deal. If the county, if you have unclaimed property, this happens a whole lot. When somebody goes into the jail, they get a little commissary account. Their family may put a couple $100 in there for them. And so somebody gets let out and they had $50 in their commissary account, they almost never come get it. If unclaimed property is under $100, we actually don't send it to the state. We keep it on hand, and you can look on our website. We publish a list of names every year, and it's perpetual. It keeps running. And I don't think I've ever had anyone in the almost 9 years I've been here come and make a claim on an under $100 unclaimed property deal. So little things. But that's kind of the gamut of what we do in the treasurer's office. I don't have any games. I don't have any quizzes. But if anybody's got questions, I'm happy to answer. Yes, ma'am.
I see these constable sales of property.
Mm-hmm.
Do you handle the money when it's sold, like a piece of property in a mobile home that was
Yep.
seized for lack of payment?
Yes, ma'am.
or mortgage, then is sold on the courthouse steps, then that money goes into the different taxing districts?
It does. So that's actually through the tax assessor's office if it's a tax sale. So there are some things we do. If it's a tax sale, somebody doesn't pay their property taxes. The county has a law firm that goes and does all that. As an editorial, I will say, because I know the guys at those law firms real well, our county is really good about trying not to take those to the foreclosure sales. I mean, if there's one on the foreclosure sale, they have made every effort under the sun to get that worked out. But it does happen. And so that money actually would end up in the tax assessor's office, and then he divides it up, and I get my portion. Now, sometimes the constables will go sell property as a result of a judgment between two parties that were in lawsuits with each other. One party wins a lawsuit, the other party doesn't pay, they're doing collections. That money actually flows in a way through us. It never touches the county's general fund, but because we manage the constable's accounts with them, that part would kind of go through us. But a tax sale goes over to the tax assessors. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? Questions? It's not a role that gets a lot of publicity, but right now we are making, I think at our last report, we're making about $3.5 million a month in investment return on county funds. So it's a important thing to make sure that money's not just sitting there either earning nothing or not being paid attention to, and something that kind of helps reduce costs and hopefully helps reduce tax burden as we go forward. So, yes, sir.
Do counties ever get in trouble with cash?
Not really in Texas. We have a pretty robust system. So I'm overseen by the county auditor. They kind of oversee everything we do. We also have outside auditors who come and make sure that we do. Now, get in trouble with cash can mean one of two things. There are concerns sometimes if property values go down or tax revenues go down unexpectedly, that a county may have set a budget that then they don't necessarily get the income. Yeah. We do, as any county of our size, well, every county is going to have one. We have a rainy day fund, as the state does, as any especially large county does, that would cover something like that. I think the more, the other thing that they watch carefully, if I'm invested in long-term investments, which doesn't happen a whole lot because we spend most of our money within a year. But some of our road project funds, for example, may take 3, 4, 5 years to do. And we may sell a lot of those bonds 2 years ago when interest rates were basically zero, right? Especially for a AAA rated county, and then spend that money over a long period of time. Well, if I invested all that money long term when interest rates were basically zero and then interest rates go up, I technically have an unrealized loss on those bonds. I couldn't sell them for what I bought them for. But I don't buy and sell. So I buy maturities. So when I buy something, I'm going to hold it until it matures. So I get every dollar back that I put in it plus interest. But foreseeably, a county or a local government or anything could get in trouble cash flow wise if they got in a situation where they had to sell a bunch of securities and they had unrealized losses that they would then realize. That's why we have auditors and outside auditors. When rates started going back up, we naturally had an unrealized loss. And we get a lot of questions about that when it happens. And so I have to go and say, hey, I'm never going to sell those maturities and realize that loss. I'm only going to take, I'm only going to take them until we actually get all the money. Yes, ma'am.
So your background is as a stockbroker, an attorney?
Not as a stockbroker. I'm an attorney. I'll say it's a little bit of a unique background for somebody being county treasurer, but I'm primarily a real estate attorney. I also from before I was county treasurer and still do, I sit on the board of a local community bank. And so what brought me interest in the position when it came open 8.5 years ago was a lot of what I do in my practice as attorney is banking and finance and those kind of things. So a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're the head of a bank.
Well, that's what I am for the county. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, so
Your position.
the bank that I sit on the board of has about $600 million in assets. The county has $1.4 billion in money. We're not even talking about other assets, just in money. So we're basically running a bank,
Yes.
except we're not lending money to people.
Yeah.
But we're just, you know, we're trying to help cover some of our costs by making some income.
On the accounting and investment.
Yes, yes. And the auditor's office particularly has a lot of really smart CPAs that help make sure we're doing everything right when we're doing that. Good questions. Anything else? Well, thank you for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of the program.